Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude
and Justin.
This is Dexter Podcast number 6, and we're covering the last 2 episodes of Season 5, Hop a Freighter, and the big one. I'll go through a fairly quick, medium-length recap of the 2 real quick, and then we'll jump into the discussion. Episode 11, Hop a Freighter. Deb and Quinn pay another visit to Jordan Chase. Dexter and Lumen plan how to capture Jordan and think to use Lumen as bait. Dexter realizes there's a camera watching them and tries to find out who's behind it. He finds the camera has an ID tag and tracks it back to Quinn. Liddy threatens Quinn and tells him he has to bust Dexter when the time comes. Masuka finds the male shoe print and evidence of a murder at the house next door to Alex's. Deb thinks the vigilante has a male accomplice. Dexter and Lumen find pictures of them disposing of coal in Quinn's apartment. Dexter waits for who he think is Quinn to come back to the surveillance van. Dexter tries to drug him. But it turns out, just like in Star Wars, it's a trap set by Liddy, who tases Dexter. Lumen gets a call for help from Emily at the direction of Jordan. Liddy tries to get Dexter to make a full confession, but all he gets is a kick in the face and a knife in the chest. Lumen goes to Emily's and finds it's a trap. Jordan's there waiting for her. Liddy tells Dexter I guess he hasn't killed him yet. Liddy tells Dexter he just wants to turn Dexter in to get his job back. He doesn't care about Lumen. Then Dexter kills Liddy just as Quinn arrives. Quinn checks out Liddy's van but doesn't see anything, especially not the drop of blood that lands on his shoe. Dexter gets a call from Lumen, gets the calls that Lumen left on his voicemail, and learns that she went to Emily's. Then Dexter gets rid of Liddy's evidence against him and Lumen. Jordan kills Emily. Dexter arrives at Emily's and sees that Lumen is gone. He follows the blood trail, but it runs cold. Next episode, the big one. Harry shows up to make Dexter second-guess himself, but he doesn't. Cody, Astor, Harrison, the grandparents, and the nanny, which is not a Peter Greenaway film, show up to Dexter.
But should be.
A small few people will get that joke. The kids want to stay with Dexter for the summer. Dexter calls Jordan, trying to make a deal to get Lumen back. Jordan stops at a light, and a guy running a one-man farmer's market recognizes Jordan and notices muffling sounds of a trapped victim in his trunk. Dexter tries to find where Jordan is holding Lumen and checks property records of Eugene Greer. We see Jordan bring Lumen to a camp where she was originally abused. Liddy's homicide is called in, and the whole department goes out to see the crime scene. Quinn deletes voicemails from Liddy and tries to distance himself from him. Maria questions Quinn regarding the voicemails, then notices blood on Quinn's shoes. He asks for a lawyer. Deb questions Quinn, but doesn't get anything out of him. Dexter finds where Lumen is and literally races to the camp. Harry appears just in time to distract Dexter, and Dexter hits a bulldozer and flips his car, where Jordan is waiting. Jordan has Dexter and Lumen captured, but Dexter gets the upper hand by stabbing Jordan in the foot as Deb gets closer to finding the camp. Jordan's on the kill table. He goads Lumen into stabbing him. As Dexter and Lumen are cleaning up, Deb finds them in the act. She gives them a heartfelt speech and then lets them go. Deb then visits Quinn in jail and pledges her support. Lumen and Deb dispose of Jordan. The next day, Lumen realizes she's totally over the whole killing thing and needs to leave. Dexter realizes Lumen's dark passenger has gotten off the train. She realizes Dexter needs to keep killing. He tells her he'll carry her darkness even though it's already gone. He'll keep it with him even though she doesn't need him to. I'm editorializing here.
I know. That wasn't exactly in the episode, but, you know, it's all right.
The whole cast shows up at Harrison's birthday party at the beach. Dexter comes late as usual. Maria and Angel agree to start over. Season 5 wasn't really great for their relationship, you know. Deb brings Quinn to the party. Maria congratulates Deb on solving the Barrel Girls case. Quinn thanks Dexter for helping him with the blood work, which cleared him. In the Liddy case, the Liddy homicide, Deb tells Dex he must be happy that this is all over, ... Aster talks to Dexter, asks him if helping Lumen made him feel better about losing Rita. No response. Babysitter enters with the cake. Dexter grabs Harrison since it's photo op time and blows out the candle, which was supposed to be Harrison's job. But you know what? Wishes are for children.
So I'm going to take a wish from my child.
Exactly. That's how we end season 5, folks. Wishes, of course, are for children. I don't know. So what do you think, my friend?
Well,
maybe from the tone of my recap, you can tell what I think.
I can. So I actually kind of rewatched these episodes, and I think, I don't know, maybe I like it a little better than you do. I think there's individual scenes that are good, I think, and I do appreciate that now. I don't know, maybe appreciate isn't the right word, but I could at least kind of get into the whole thing, which is clearly Dexter's central problem, which is, be able to connect to someone. And the whole alienation thing that happens when Lumen leaves and at the end, I thought that was fairly well done and fairly good. But I think I feel the same way about these episodes as I felt about the whole season, which is that it's fine, but there's something just not quite as strong as the show's been before. In a way, I don't know what happened, but it just doesn't carry the weight that it used to me. And so I remember the tension in the last couple episodes for previous seasons being very, very high, and I never really got that from these. I was interested to see what would happen, but I really honestly never felt really concerned about any of the characters' fates, because I was pretty sure of what was going to happen the whole time. Yeah. And I just didn't like that. I didn't like feeling that way. But I do like some of the character scenes, and there were parts that were fine, and I can appreciate what they were trying to do on a level. So I didn't exactly hate it, but it wasn't great. I don't know. To me, it was sort of 6 out of 10, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I feel. I didn't hate it either. I just thought it really came down to nothing that interesting. I think one of the reasons the show doesn't carry the same weight this season is Dexter's asking the same questions he's been asking, and he got to the end of this season, in the finale, he's like, can I share my secret with someone and they accept me for who I am? The answer's no, Dexter. Can I be a serial killer and a good father? No. These questions that you're asking, the answer is no. So you either need to realize that and plan around it, or, I think he's asking the wrong questions. That's what frustrates me at the end of the day is the questions he's asking, he's already been told no several times by his endeavors. And then Harry shows up in the finale to say, we've already been here before. He's telling the audience, this is a situation we've seen Dexter in before, and it's yeah, we have. Why are we watching it again? And that to me is what this season really comes down to. It's just a retread of the other seasons, and the tension, like you said, there wasn't any great deal of tension because we can see how this is going to play out. Lumen's going to leave. They weren't even pretending that she was going to be around, after the finale. They didn't even say, they could have written her where she stayed, and next season she's gone, at least make it worth this idea that they had fallen in love, but I thought it was pretty crappy. We had our issue with the fact that they slept together really sort of early, a couple episodes ago. and really just to make their, the sort of bond stronger through the finale, through the last couple episodes. But she just leaves him like, okay, I don't feel the need to kill anymore, therefore my feelings for you are gone too, which is weird, And I just thought like it was a lot of stuff happened with not much outcome. Like how much has Dexter progressed this season? I don't think he's progressed very much. At the end of the day, it's like Aster asked him, did all of this help you get over Mom? Just say yes. Jesus Christ, throw the audience a bone. Like let us know that you at least think it helped, or it would try to help, or even if that wasn't your reason to begin with, that now that you look back on it, yeah, it did help. Now helping Lumen and having her leave me somehow makes me understand the Rita situation. I just felt like this season was very lackluster and lacked that like extra like quality, the extra finesse in the writing and in the storytelling that other seasons had, where you felt like you were getting at something interesting with what was going on, and everything kind of just stayed at the surface, like. And my other big thing with the season is Dexter was off his game pretty much the entire season. He didn't even know Liddy was after him. Good thing Liddy was stupid enough to confront Dexter head on. If he had just submitted the tapes to the department, or called Maria up and said, hey, guess what? I got one of your guys on tape. It's just like that would have been it.
Yeah.
So my frustration really it's just sort of disappointment more than anything else of how, like, the Santa Muerte thing never came back.
Yeah, that wasn't a surprise to me.
I don't know how you leave a case with not even a suspect. I mean, the guy who's involved, the other brother. You just leave him out there and you never talk about the case again.
Yeah, they're done.
How did they close that case? I mean, it's so weird. And why not kill him off if you're going to be done with it? If the show's not going to come back to it, then why say he's still around? That's the kind of. I just thought this season was kind of badly written. I think there's some stuff that's like, I wish they would have done different things. But then there's some stuff where it just seems like bad writing.
Yeah, and I think, like, looking at the season retrospectively, I want to say that Dexter being off his game is not actually intentional. It's just a product of the way they wrote him, and they're not trying to make him look that way. This kind of unintentionally written.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, even in the finale when they all go to the Liddy crime scene, and I forgot what Dexter says, but he was like. He makes some comment about what did they say? Somebody makes a comment like about the crime scene. I forgot what he says now. I have to hear it again. But it was some comment about how Dexter left the crime scene basically, and I'm thinking, yeah, the old Dexter would have never left that body just sitting in a bloody van.
Oh.
Like he would have never. I just don't see. Never left it where he couldn't have pointed the killer towards somebody. Like, he was lucky Quinn didn't, wore the same shoes, right, that day. Like, if Quinn had worn those shoes again, Maria wouldn't have saw it, and then they wouldn't have had a suspect. They would have been looking for who killed Liddy, which I guess they still are, which, by the way, they handled all that stuff off screen. Supposedly Dexter, like, did something with the blood report that said it wasn't, I guess, Liddy's blood on Quinn's shoe, which is weird, because then the question is, whose blood is it? And who did Dexter say in the report the blood belonged to? That's all off screen, which is fine. I don't care.
Well, that was Liddy's blood. I mean, we see it drop on there.
No, I know, but that's the thing. What is your interpretation? I figure when they're thanking Dexter for getting Quinn out of off the suspect list because of the blood work, then he has to basically say it's not Liddy's blood, right?
Yeah.
So that's my point.
I agree, and you're running into what my big issue is with these two episodes, particularly the last one. Yeah, like it's not specifically the issue of the blood, but it's really Dexter and Quinn and what they're doing and why. and what they think. Because honestly, I got to the end of this and I had no idea what either one of them thought or what either one of them knew. I was totally confused about both of them because I feel like they're both kind of in the dark about a lot of stuff, and they only have limited info, and they both do things, and they must have some reason for those things, but in the end, I was left just completely lost, and I don't feel like it should have been that unclear to me. Maybe this is just my fault, but so, I mean, I take it that Dexter decided to say that it was not Liddy's blood to clear Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that leaves the question, why did he do that? You know,
because he wants Deb to be happy.
Okay, sure. That's fine. And there is lines that suggest that might be the case. Mm-hmm. But it's not totally clear. Like he plays it off to Quinn like just doing my job as though those were the real results.
Well, and that of course is kind of weird. Like Quinn is saying thanks for throwing me a bone, and Dexter's kind of like, yeah, I didn't really help you.
Yeah.
And he even tells Deb like I don't like him at all.
Right.
I think he's trying to bolster some sort of case where he's not favoring Quinn. Right? It's like.
Yeah.
He's making a case that he doesn't favor Quinn, so he wouldn't have helped him, which
and now
is kind
Quinn,
of a weird thing.
Quinn did not see the blood go on his shoe, right? Maria notices it before Quinn does.
Yes. Totally.
So it's not necessarily the case that was Liddy's blood.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, they didn't say what Dexter said, but like Quinn doesn't know for sure that that's what it is. So it could have been, from his point of view, that Dexter did just do his job, and it turned out not to be Liddy's blood.
I would cross that idea off the list simply because I think Quinn should know where blood came. Like, you know, was he at some other crime scene that blood could have been at that he woun't have noticed? I mean, you know, you got to weigh that option. I feel like he should figure it's Liddy's blood.
I agree. He does. Yeah. He does. But I'm just saying, like, technically he doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't know for sure where that blood came from.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't see it, and until very late in the game.
Yeah.
So, but I agree.
Here's the other big
thing:
is Dexter needs to protect Quinn because he does think that Quinn is behind Liddy investigating him, which is true. And he doesn't know what Quinn knows. I mean, he knows that Quinn has seen those pictures of him and Lumen dumping a body.
Yes.
So I think he doesn't want Quinn to get in trouble and have to say, I was doing all this stuff to find Dexter. I found these pictures of him and this girl. You know, he needs to make sure Quinn doesn't get further in trouble because that just gets him in trouble.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the main reasons why he helps him. But then he tells Dad, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't like Quinn. I think he's right when he says, I don't like him. But
I don't think he's lying about that.
Happy.
Yeah. I mean, he clearly shows his distaste for Quinn whenever they're interacting. But okay. So Dexter basically, he does have some vague sense that Quinn was not fully invested in the surveillance. I do feel like he doesn't know the finer details, but maybe that's enough to realize that, I don't know, Quinn had given up pursuing it and Liddy was kind of a loose cannon. He does tell Dexter why he's doing what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So he's at least got some idea that, Liddy wanted his job back and, he this sort of fell into his lap as a way to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So maybe he sort of gets that. Okay. Now, from Quinn's point of view, what does he think happened to Liddy? Does he realize that Dexter killed Liddy? Is that why he doesn't talk?
That's a good question.
Why doesn't he say anything?
I don't think he realizes that because I think that totally changes the dynamic of the show if he thinks Dexter's a killer. I think Quinn doesn't know what happened to Liddy, and I think. Well, here's the question. I forget. Does Liddy tell? I guess Liddy tells Quinn on the phone, I have Dexter.
See, okay, yes, that's what I thought. But actually, he never specifies what the bust is.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was figuring is happening, because I'm thinking if he tells them Dexter's here, then that means Dexter's the killer.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't say Dexter's here, then Quinn is not sure who killed him.
Yeah, like in the conversation in the parking lot, he does bring up Dexter, but then he talks about I need you to do this bust, and he doesn't say that the bust is Dexter. He never says that. I paid very close attention to see if there was any indication from Quinn that Dexter actually was involved in whatever.
And when he calls him on the phone, when he's in the van with Dexter, he just says, "I got the bust ready for you," or something. Like,
yeah, you better get out here. I'm going to call some other cop. You have to do this, but he never mentions Dexter's name.
But what's weird is we of course know it's Dexter, and it seems like Quinn should be assuming it's Dexter.
He should be.
Yeah. I guess maybe he's not,
right?
Or he doesn't know, or something.
Yeah, but then he refuses to talk. He never says what he thinks happened. There's that one little scene on the boat where he just kind of blindly asked Dexter, "Hey, you got any theories about what happened to Liddy?" Why would he say that? Dexter's like, "I haven't seen the crime scene yet." I mean, if Quinn doesn't think he has anything,
he's definitely prodding Dexter. I don't think he necessarily thinks Dexter did it, but he's trying to see. And then he gets a weird response back, like something came back to bite him. So it's kind of like he's wondering if Dexter has something to do with it, and Dexter kind of gives him a ambiguous answer, like, well, maybe.
Right. So it's not clear to me if he actually suspects Dexter or not. Even if he doesn't know that he did it, does he even consider that a possibility, or does he think it's just some other unconnected thing that has nothing to do with Dexter?
I think he's happy to be through with Liddy, and I think he's happy to be done with everything, and I think he's happy to have Deb back, and I feel like that's as far as it goes.
Okay.
I think if you have to answer those questions, I feel like, to me, Quinn probably thinks he was considering if Dexter was involved or not. I think Dexter helping him out sort of makes him feel like it's not Dexter, because I think if they were ending this season with Quinn thinking Dexter is a killer, thinking Dexter killed Liddy, I think they would have made that more clear.
I would think so.
And since Quinn investigating Dexter is a impediment to his relationship with Deb, I feel like he wants to get rid of that.
Yeah.
So I think, I think he was wondering if Dexter did it, and I think he's not sure who killed him, but I think he's done with it. He's just like, it's over. I'm kind of happy it's over. And what's interesting is, from Dexter's perspective, is I think you could argue that it might have been good for him to let Quinn take the fall for Liddy's murder, because someone has to, and then that'll get Quinn out of the picture. And even if Quinn says, "Oh, I was investigating Dexter, I just realized he doesn't necessarily have any evidence,"
right?
And it's just like, "Oh, you're just mad at the person who did your blood work, who put you at the scene of the crime, or something like." So I'm thinking, like, if they wanted to, they could have went that way. But I didn't really think, I figured Quinn would still be around next season. So they just, they want him to be around. Deb needs a partner in both senses of the word.
Yeah. Okay. So, but when Quinn refuses to say anything, is that just simply to protect himself legally? Well,
legally, and he doesn't want to tell Deb I was doing all this stuff for Dexter.
Okay. That's what I was asking. I kind of felt like he was not saying anything to her, at least, once she turns the cameras off and stuff, just because he didn't want to say that it was about Dexter.
Yeah, totally.
And that he might even suspect that Dexter killed Liddy. He's not going to want to tell her that. If he thinks it. But I never got clear whether he thought it or not. And then one more thing. There's a line when they're in the van doing the investigation. Quinn's off to the side with Maria, so he doesn't hear any of this. But Angel throws out, "Hey, if we find who he was spying on, then that's probably the killer," because they realize that the surveillance equipment has been taken. you know. And so if Quinn heard that, I mean, he instantly knows who he was spying on, you know, and that would be, you know, that might put it in his brain if it isn't there already.
Means, but how does he know? Well, I don't know. Wait, say what you're saying again. You're saying if Quinn knows who Liddy was spying on?
He does, of course. He's the one who got Liddy to spy on Dexter.
But I mean, it's the same category as this other bust, right? Like, it doesn't mean that Dexter's the only person he was spying on or investigating, right?
Yeah, okay. That's true.
I think that's where that would land. Because I think Quinn could, you know, he's much of a detective to figure what Angel set out for himself, too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously Liddy was involved with somebody who killed him. And whoever killed him, Liddy was doing something with.
Yeah.
But
he is aware that among the people Liddy was spying on was Dexter.
Yeah.
You know, so it just seemed like they were pointing in that direction. And then at the end of the scene, Angel has this line where he's like, "Am I the only one who cares about this murder?"
I think he is.
And I'm like, yes, Angel, I believe you are.
Yep, you really, really are.
I don't think the show cares about it. I don't think the characters care about it. It's kind of just bookkeeping because they just have to get rid of this plot line.
Yeah.
You know, but it's frustrating to be at that point. Like, I want that to matter more, but it strangely doesn't. And then they left me with these ambiguities about what the characters think and why they're doing what they're doing. And it's strange to me for it to be so unclear on a show that, like, especially this season, has been written in a very straightforward way, where it's usually very clear what characters' motivations are and why they're pretty explicit about that most of the time. But strangely, with that Quinn plot, I was just left at the end like, I have no idea what's going on, and it shouldn't be that way. I know it shouldn't be that way. So, okay, so your point of view is basically that Quinn slightly thinks Dexter may be involved, but doesn't know for sure. He just clams up for various reasons. Dexter gets Quinn off the hook for his own sake and for Deb, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'll take it. That's sort of a combination of two different theories that I had. I guess the first theory was more like neither one of them had a clue what was going on, and then the second theory was that they both knew exactly what was going on. You know, Quinn knows that Dexter killed Liddy, and Dexter knows that Quinn knows that he killed Liddy, and so he gets him off as a favor to, you know, get him to stop, get off his back, basically. You know, he says he owes him one, and it's put him back in Quinn's good graces, and he probably won't be messing with him for the time being. So that was the other theory I had. And yours is sort of like, you know, a middle version where they both kind of know stuff. But
isn't that this whole season's a middle version? It's kind of muddled and, you know, some of this, some of that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's, like I said, I think to me the big thing is how are they ending the season, and I think it's fairly clear they're not ending it with Dexter being on Quinn's, you know, much watch list. Like, he's the number one guy that he's going to go after next. Like, I think it's over. Like, that whole, you know, mainly because of the Deb storyline, because of his interest in Deb, he already wanted to drop it.
Yeah.
You know, when he got him. You know, he got fired, you know, he got suspended, and then he, you know, sort of had incentive to keep going because he, you know, so he hired Liddy, and then it went too far, and he wanted to drop it, and so then, you know, now Liddy's dead, he really just wants this dropped, and I think he feels like, and this is just my opinion, of course, but I feel like he's thinking if Dexter's a bad guy, he's probably not that bad. Like, he doesn't necessarily know what Dexter's doing, which is why he was trying to find out. But I think he has some sense of duty as a cop to figure out what this guy might be up to. And I feel like I feel like at this point he thinks whatever he's up to, it's not bad enough for him to risk his interest in Deb.
Okay.
You know, And so I think he's going to kind of lay off of him for a while until something, until he has some reason to think, because the big thing was he was trying to find out who killed Rita. He was thinking Dexter might have something to do with that, and then sort of connected to the Trinity case. And he seems to, I think he's thinking he was wrong about the Kyle Butler thing. Maybe he thinks that now. I can't really tell.
Right.
So I think he just wants it all. So I feel like they're not, they didn't end the season with, Quinn and Deb kind of laughing in slow motion, and then Quinn throws a suspicious look at Dexter.
No, the ending note for them was "I owe you one."
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's kind of like done with trying to get, think Dexter's a bad guy at this point.
Okay.
I feel like, even if he thinks he killed Liddy, he probably thinks Liddy deserved it.
Right. That's what I was getting at. Like, is he going to be okay with that?
Dex? He's like, what did he do, Dex? Did he drop some coffee on your floor? Yeah. I've been there, brother. I've been there. Dropping hot coffee when you don't have any shoes on? Yeah. I would have killed him too. So I agree. It is ambiguous what each person thinks exactly, but I feel like in general, Quinn isn't sure who killed Liddy, but he's sure happy it's over with. And Dexter knows that Quinn was involved, but I think has some vague sense that Quinn wasn't trying to, that Quinn doesn't have some undying vendetta against him, that he wasn't as far along as Liddy was, to whatever degree. So, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, I'll accept your answer. I think it makes sense. It just seemed like a point that it doesn't make sense for them to write it in such a way that it seems so ambiguous. Like, I feel like it's kind of ambiguous just because it's underdeveloped.
Yeah, it's so underdeveloped. They wrapped it up really fast, and it's like I said, the whole, how many? Well, I don't know if that's a fair question, but the whole blood spatter analysis, or not blood spatter, doing the blood off of Quinn's shoe was all, like I said, all off screen.
Yeah.
So we don't even know what Dexter did, or if he was going to say it is Liddy's blood and change his mind, or
Right.
So I think that does show that there's some sloppiness there. That because I think most times if Dexter's going to analyze something and change the results, we kind of see that at some point.
Right, and there's no voiceover about what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Like, they show him starting to, scrape the blood off, but that's all we see. And to me, there was no sense in that scene, I know what this is, and I'm going to have to fake the results,
Yeah.
Like, usually he would comment about if he's going to transgress like that. So it's just odd that they leave it.
He would say, well, no use in doing the analysis. I know what the results are going to be.
Yes. That's the line that should be there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, and then he would say something like, "So Quinn, what's it going to be? Am I going to help you out here, or am I going to send you upriver?" It would be some question about what is he going to do, and then they cut to another scene, and then they come back with him having Then we know what the results are, and the aftermath of all that. Yeah,
yes.
I think this season had some fairly clear examples of, not good Dexter writing.
Yeah.
I'm very, and let me, since I'm, I don't want to lambast the show, but it's just very frustrating. I am so sick of Dexter showing up at the last minute to his own, family's birthday parties and celebrations, and I know Lumen just left him, but damn it, I just wish he would be sort of more. I just wish he would fake it better. Would try more. It's just weird when every time. If they're going to have Harrison around, and if they're going to have all this stuff with him trying to be a dad, I think he needs to actually try. I think he needs to actually, not just let the babysitter do everything. And just, To me, it's just like, well, why even have it on the show if you're going to half-ass it? You know, why are you so concerned about whether or not you're going to be a good dad if you're never trying to be a good dad? He's never trying. He took Harrison to the Played thing that, the beginning of the season, and that's like it. It's just weird to me, like how they have certain parts of the show where he's not sort of progressing in these areas that they want to focus on, and it's just like, well, if he's not going to be good at this or try to be good at this, then why are we dealing with it? And he's not even worried,
Yeah.
He's just turning out to be a really crappy dad, and it seems like that should be the one thing he doesn't want to be.
That's what he says.
Yeah. And, I'll give him credit for saying telling Astrid that he loves her, and, I'll give him credit for some stuff that happened, but it's just kind of how they stage, like the birthday party scene, like, he comes in, he's like the last one there, and he doesn't play with Harrison the entire thing. Only when people are gathered to the birthday cake does he even hold his own kid. And I know this is just the show and how they're filming it and all that stuff, but to me it's just weird. It's just like he's not even pretending to be. He used to try to be normal, try to pretend like he was, had these emotions and stuff like that. But I feel like he's not even cultivating them. I feel like, this might be an extreme example, but I feel like if Harrison died, how bad would he feel? I mean, Rita left, and how bad did he feel about that? And if he is really that bereft of emotions for the people in his life who he claims to, sort of ostensibly have the most emotions for, and nothing happens, when they're out of his life, it's not captivating to me anymore. It's not compelling, It's like, Rita was killed at the end of season 4, and what did she get for it? Dexter off his rocker for a couple episodes, and then he finds someone else to replace her, with like sort of no more thought about her or what she really meant to him. And to me, that just shows a lack of character development, And they had another opportunity, a great bookend moment when Astrid comes back and says, "Hey, did helping Lumen help you get over, Rita?" And it's just like silence. Give us something so we know that, Rita's death was honored or something in a way where it's like it did mean something to him, whether or not he has the emotional language to put it into words or to feel it. Like something did happen there, which I think gives you hope for the future, because now it's just like if Lumen did stay and they were together, and then she died, he's going to find somebody else? Like, it just seems like if they're not going to make these emotional connections matter to him for real, or to really show him try to make these things work, then there's no hope for him, and I could stop watching the show. He's never gonna get the emotions he needs to work out, and now I'm just watching the show to see if he's ever gonna get caught, and that's one compelling aspect of the show, but I feel like it needs more than one, one thing to be interested in. The kill of the week stuff is boring, and
they didn't really do kills of the week this season.
Yeah, they didn't do that many of them. I feel like they're gonna get back to it. That's gonna continue to be a staple of the show.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully they'll make them interesting. But just as a feature of the show, it's not that interesting anymore. And I feel like if the show is not about him trying to basically, quote, become human or whole, then I don't know what the show's about.
I think it is. I want to say that. When Astrid asks him if it helps him get over Rita, and he doesn't answer. I mean, he does at least show emotion, even though he doesn't say anything.
And closes his eyes.
Yeah. So there you go. And so I think he's I don't know. He doesn't want to answer that. He didn't really answer when she asked about it originally either. So I don't. I guess I'm okay with him not answering. I think the idea is supposed to be that that's sort of true, and I think the thing that one thing that I felt like they were trying to say Lumen could teach him is that maybe he could actually get rid of his Dark Passenger at some point, in the way that she was able to.
But see, I think that's what they're not saying. To me, I thought they were making it clear that he's I feel like they brought that topic up. Like, okay, does that mean he can get rid of his Dark Passenger? But here's the thing: he never seems to try to get rid of it. Like it seems like, okay, what does that mean? Like, she has a clear way to get rid of her Dark Passengers to kill the man responsible. His Dark Passenger came about because of what happened to his mom. And the situation, how he, the boy and blood thing. And so it's like maybe that is his long-term goal, is to realize that crucial event and how to patch that up, and then his Dark Passenger go away. But I feel like in the short term, they're basically saying, no, he's got this for real Dark Passenger, that will never go away, as opposed to her, who her thing was temporary, Because it's not like what happened to her made her a serial killer, and getting rid of these guys doesn't get rid of that pain that she feels. It's like it did get rid of it. She's fine now.
Right, but I feel like Dexter is coming from a similar place. I mean, he's supposed to have, gotten this Dark Passenger because of a traumatic experience, which is...
Yeah, but the people responsible are gone, and so it's not the same situation. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree that they're bringing up the idea that he could get rid of it, and maybe maybe the key is figuring out how to get rid of it, of course.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they're leaving us with, like, he's really close to getting rid of it or anything.
Well, but I'm just saying his situation is different because it's not some people he can go find.
Yeah.
It was based on a situation that happened, and it made its mark, and he has spent his life. I mean, she didn't lose emotions. She didn't get to the level that he got to. He has other issues besides having a Dark Passenger. You know what I mean? The Dark Passenger doesn't make him emotionless, That's part of his patchwork of trauma that he has. So, it's not the same situation, but I do think, they are asking that question, which I think they haven't asked before, which is interesting. Because Harry's whole thing was, of course, you'll always be a monster. I'm going to teach you how to live the best way possible within the confines that I think you have. And now they're getting to a point of saying, well, maybe Dexter can be more than that. And I feel like, okay, I will give them credit for trying to bring, character development and stuff like that. But I feel like there's 4 or 5 areas this season where they could have made that more clear and stronger, and they just dropped the ball. Like, why not have him say yes or no or maybe or I don't know when Aster asked him that question the second time? Why ask twice and never give an answer? Why is a sigh good enough? This is season 5. Your wife died. You didn't react like a sort of, a traditional reaction would be. At the end of all this, how do you feel? I don't know if it's too much to ask for more than a sigh, when it could be like, he says, yes, this did help. Or, or he alludes to, like what you're saying, he alludes to this idea that he could get over his dark past. Like he says something to Aster about it helping, but he says something that we know is some allusion to this new idea that's introduced to him. Like she gave me a light. I did, something about light and direction. He could say something like that, where it's okay. This Lumen thing wasn't just about Rita. It gave him something he couldn't have expected. Which I think would be cool if that's what they want to say.
I mean, I think that's what Dexter kind of says in his voiceover at the end.
Does he? What does his voiceover say?
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't quote it, but it's the very last lines. I mean, I guess I could look it up, but like he's talking about what Lumen taught him, and I think the main point is that I can't quote it, so I'll have to look it up.
Let's go to the tape.
Well, the fact is she gave me mine back, too. And I'm left not with what she took from me, but with what she brought. Eyes that saw me, find who I really am, and is certainty that nothing is set in stone, not even darkness. While she was here, she made me think for the briefest moment that I might even have a chance to be human.
Make a wish. Make a wish. 1, 2.
But wishes, of course, are for children.
Yeah, see, they're saying no.
Right. So he says Lumen made me think that maybe I could get rid of my Dark Passenger, but that's just a wish.
Yeah. So they're not saying that. That's the whole thing is they're saying the whole Lumen thing was almost not even worth it. He's ending the season thinking he can't be the light that he saw through her. So that's just weird to me, you know. Wishes are for kids. You know, it should have been, you know, sometimes wishes are for adults, and I'm going to wish that I'm wrong about what I just gleaned from my experiences with Lumen, you know. I don't know. So I think you see my point now, how they're not making that point, that idea clear, and that's probably one of the, you know, that's something they haven't brought up before, this idea he'd get rid of his Dark Passenger. You know, he's always it's been about dealing with it and coping with it, but having you know, if the whole main idea of this season was, you know, Dexter realizing he needs to figure out a way to get rid of his Dark Passenger, not just keep killing and not getting caught, that'd be a cool direction to go into for next season, but they didn't drive that point home.
Right. I'm not denying that his final conclusion is that he can't. But what I'm saying is his summary of what Lumen did for him is specifically make him think that maybe he could get rid of his Dark Passenger. So I feel like that is, they did say it. It's there.
He didn't say get rid of his Dark Passenger. He said like be human.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of the same thing.
It's sort of the same thing, but I think there's a fine line there. There's a difference. Because like I said, there's one thing about him being a killer, and there's one thing about him having emotions and stuff. And I think those are separate but related things. Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but I think they're connected. I mean, I think the fact that he doesn't have emotions, you know, enables him to be able to be a killer.
Yeah, and I don't see how do you make a point and then say that that's wrong? Like, so it's like they're saying that's what Lumen did for him, but it's like saying he's not going to look at that as valuable because wishes are for kids.
Yeah, he does not believe that he can actually do it. He thinks he's kind of stuck in this.
So what's the point?
Forever.
If it's not going to make him think he can be like her, then what's the point? It just gives him a taste of heaven that he can never reach?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be kind of tragic.
Mm-hmm.
His sort of alienation and never, you know, knowing that he'll never actually achieve that. I mean, that's what he thinks. I think that there's a chance that the show will still go in that direction, even though at this point he doesn't believe that that's plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Because it at least seems to me like a reasonable redemption arc.
Here's the thing: every season is about Dexter asking himself questions. Can I be this kind of person and have a Dark Passenger? Can I be that kind of person? Can I have this kind of relationship? Usually the answer is no. Every season, people die, things fall apart, he doesn't do something right, somebody else does something. The answer usually ends up being no. I'm just getting tired of him asking the same questions where life is telling him no. And I feel like he's not learning how to ask new questions. Yeah, no, I agree. Those are because of the setup for the character, those are the only questions he ever really focuses on. Because it should be something like, at some point, the show should change from him saying, can I be human and have my dark passenger and have close personal relationships to how do I get rid of my dark passenger? If he was asking that question at this point, I would feel like there's some character growth there, where he's like, oh, okay, Lumen showed me that if you can get over your, what traumatized you, then maybe there's hope for me yet, But It's just ending on back at square one after 5 seasons, just kind of is lame.
Well, I agree. I expected it, so in a way I wasn't let down by it. But I mean, unfortunately, every season kind of ends that way, and Dexter is stuck in this eternal loop of connecting to someone and then having that come to some kind of end and then being left again with the same situation he was in at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and the way Lumen left was so crappy. Just like, no, I got to go today. It's the end of the season. I mean, it's I cannot even pretend to be around after the hiatus. No way.
I want a name for the scene where one character comes in and they're just really excited and enthusiastic, and the other characters obviously got something on their mind that they want to tell them that they know they're not going to like, and they kind of just sit there and let them go on in their enthusiasm for a while before they tell them. That's a scene that happens a lot. I don't know what to call it, but
it should be something like it should be called the calm before the storm, or because they're going to rain on their parade in a second. They're just biding their time.
Yeah,
so it should have some name because they're totally going to ruin their day, and they're letting them exude their happy energy until I've got news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's just, I don't know, that's a staple. And so as soon as he comes in, he's all happy, and Lumen's kind of pensive, sitting there. It's like, all right, she's leaving.
Yeah,
obviously.
She's totally leaving. She's got to go right now.
There's 10 minutes left in this episode.
And see, again, I think it's really there's no finesse with the idea of their relationship and how, okay, so does that mean she really didn't have feelings for Dexter, and this was just feelings, it was her dark passenger?
It was just kind of brought about by the circumstances.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of true.
No acknowledgement of that, though. No, I'm sorry we went as far as we did, and it, I don't want you to think I used you or something. It's no acknowledgement of kind of what happened. It's just oh, let's just wrap this up and go.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Dexter-Lumen relationship just never quite worked in really almost any of the stages of its development.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they pushed it too much. Initially it was weird, and then it was weird in the middle, and then it got weird again, and then at the end it was still weird. The whole thing was just
imagine if everything's the same except they don't sleep together in the episode before, I guess episode 10 or something.
Yeah.
And they're going to, but Lumen says something like, I can't be intimate or romantic when the killers are still out there. My tormentors are still out there. So this idea that they can be a couple once all this is said and done. And then, flash forward to the finale, Jordan Chase and everyone is dead. Then she realizes, oh, wait, I can't, I got to leave, and I feel like that would have worked better because she's leaving anyway. I don't know what them, the sort of, being couple thing, and it still lets them confront the idea that her, her feelings were predicated on the revenge, but she can realize that very easily when, Jordan and those guys are dead, and she's like, yeah, I got to go. Because I just feel like for her to leave like that means that she had, her feelings for Dexter evaporated, totally evaporated. There was nothing real there. She was happy and thankful he helped her, but that's it by the end.
Yes.
That's it's crappy writing to me.
Yeah.
Or just a very, bad character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to say season 5 is my least favorite season. I mean, it definitely wasn't, garbage. It had, I give it a C+, B- or something, but overall, but I definitely think pretty much every other season was better. Even season 2.
I think I agree, although there was something somewhat less tedious about this season than they've had in earlier seasons. It had a little more. I think this season was more focused on Dexter, which kind of helped maintain my interest. It probably is. It probably is the worst season. I don't know. Season 3 is the closest.
Mm-hmm. I think season 3 had new stuff, though. That's my thing about season 5 is any of the good stuff is pretty much a retread, I mean, some of the good stuff is new, the Lumen stuff, that relationship's different, but
yeah,
a lot of the good stuff was either they did it in other seasons or, something like that.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. There were a lot of individual things that I liked, I have to say, and there is something like, as much as it just endlessly repeats itself, I do find the basic premise compelling, and so it's hard for me to give up on it because I continue to want Dexter to get somewhere, whether he ever does or not.
Mhm.
And so I guess I do kind of hope that they can take a step back from this season and realize that they can't do this forever. I don't know, though. I mean, maybe the show's just being strung along, and they're just going to keep making up stuff for him to do, and not really end the story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't just degenerate, get so badly written that it gets low ratings, and then it gets canceled in the middle of another tedious season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they necessarily have the end date in mind the way they're writing. They're just kind of continuing the story. Yeah,
they're in like Lost season 2 or season 3 mode where they're just kind of throwing shit out there, and just to have something to show. I mean, I sort of appreciated it, but I have seen that this season is actually the highest rated season of all of them. Which I find pretty surprising. I think Dexter is just catching on for some weird reason, but I do think the earlier stuff was stronger.
Yeah.
They had it was a gravity to the whole thing that was sort of missing.
The Dexter voiceovers used to be so good.
Yes.
I remember there used to be lines he would say that I would listen to again. I'm just like, this is such great voiceover. And that was like none of that this season. It was so boring and just regular. It's just no flair.
His voiceover has definitely been weak. Like I got stuck on like when Dev's talking to Dexter and she's talking about her vigilante theory, and she says, serious shit, and then his voiceover says, "Is that what we have? Serious shit?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that really necessary to put in voiceover? Like, it just...
Yes, because he's going to say it later, so you need it the first time, right?
I know, but like, is that good? I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. To me, like that felt like such a lame thing to include as a motif, as something to repeat. It's serious. I don't know. Like, usually he has an interesting perspective on what he's encountering, and that's what makes the voiceover interesting.
Yes, exactly.
And in that case, he's kind of just like repeating what she said.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I just I don't know. I when I watched that, I was like, I don't understand why it's important. Besides the fact that he's saying it later to put that in voiceover, and there's a lot more examples like that. In general, like the voiceover is a part of the style of the show, and they're never going to get rid of it. But it does feel like they didn't have a lot of good ideas for it this season.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things I noticed.
Yeah.
Because I think that adds to the tone and the gravity. I think that's part of what's missing is Dexter's perspective on what's going on and his interesting take. And part of this the problem with this season, of course, is, I mean, they did focus on Dexter a lot, but that means that any of the other storylines aren't that interesting because Dexter doesn't care about them.
Yes.
So it's just like, well, who cares about that case? No, Dexter doesn't.
Yes. I think you can easily cut the Santa Muerte case from this season.
Yeah.
Find another reason to get Deb in the file room, and you really don't lose anything.
No, not
because that was just unnecessary distraction.
Okay, so what do you think about Jordan Chase's death? I mean, this whole season, the big bad guy, and that's how he dies. And then, the Deb part of his death was cool, but just how it all ended up, I thought was pretty lame. Like, Dexter's driving like a bat out of hell as Harry is telling him to be careful and look out for a trap, and he runs into a trap, and I'm just like, I'm laughing. I'm literally laughing out loud. LOL, you've probably heard of it. And
well-known internet slang, LOL.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did one of those, and I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, Dexter, you're so far off your game that you ran into a bulldozer. I mean, Don Quixote would have went around that one, Come on, like, this is insane. And he gets captured.
I know that is just a bulldozer. You can't fool me.
You can't fool me.
Yeah. I know. I see what you mean. But
it's literally laughable.
I will make a slightly different point about that, which is that not slightly, very different, which is that it also convinced me that Harry is in his head. Actually, there's two scenes to convince me Harry is in his head. Mm-hmm. The first one is the first one in the second episode. Sorry, the finale episode where Harry's talking to him, and then Aster and the nanny and all the they show up. Because Harry's like right in front of the door when he answers the door, and then he opens the door and Harry's gone.
Mhm.
So that definitely made it look like he's not like really there. Because there's sort of no reason that he couldn't, because they do show Harry in the crowd at the party at the end.
Yeah.
There's no reason he can't be there when other people are around.
Mm-hmm.
But Dexter is sort of blindsided by people at his door, so he's not thinking about Harry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he disappears. And the other thing was in the car. It really mirrored to me something that happened early in season 4, where he's talking to Harry in the car and he gets in a giant car wreck where he flips the car over. It's kind of the same thing.
It's basically Dexter telling himself to be careful and look out for traps, but what's weird is he's so busy thinking that he needs to be careful that he's not careful.
Right.
And part of it is just, how they do the scene with him, obviously. Because realistically, if, Dexter shouldn't be looking over to the passenger seat as he's talking to Harry.
Yes.
Unless he's really thinking he's seeing him. I feel like that stuff doesn't really play out how we're seeing it.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in this weird Dexter version where we can see what he sees, and so he's looking at Harry. But I feel like he really shouldn't be just looking at, an empty seat while he's talking.
Mm-hmm. I agree. My interpretation is sort of, in season 4 it was more just that he was tired and, falling asleep, so, and also talking to Harry. But in this one it seemed more like he's in his head so much worrying about stuff that he's not actually watching the road.
Yeah.
And so that also convinced me that, because if it's really Harry, it's almost like he caused them to get in a wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, I don't think he would want to do that. So it definitely comes across more like it's Dexter just being distracted by, like, thinking this over in this elaborate way.
Yeah.
But I agree, it does make him look, I mean, of course it worked out in the end, so it didn't really matter, but...
It just makes him look like he's off his game, and my thing is, Dexter doesn't seem to realize how bad he's off his game. I mean, how many times was the gig almost stopped this season? You know, and then it's like when they're in overtime and he's going to go rescue the damsel in distress, and it's insane.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's no comments about that, so that's why I said, like, I just don't even feel like that's intentional. I feel like he's coming across that way just because of poor writing decisions and not because that's actually a part of the story.
Mhm. And it's like his whole family comes into town, and you see him at the beginning, you see him at the end. It's just like another thing of him just being, they're saying it was like, hey, Cody and Astor want to ask you something. Oh, can you wait? I don't have time for questions. Who are you, the president? Your kids came all this way. They have like one single question for you. You don't have to. I don't know. It's weird how they write him. I know obviously Lumen's taken and all this stuff, and he's preoccupied. He's got work, but again, I just feel like he doesn't even pretend to try. And I think that's part of, that's why I like the show Dexter, is because it's, ostensibly about a serial killer who is trying to, spin the plates, the facade that he's normal, and if he stops spinning the plates, what am I watching? I'm watching plates fall down. I'm watching Astor see through him and see that he has no emotions about Rita. Okay, well, how does he fix that? Well, he tells her he loves her and he helps her out when she needs help. Okay, that's cool. But it's just like he needs to keep spinning plates. He needs to, like, I want to see him, if he's going to, remember when he first was involved with the kids and it was the whole thing of how do I do this and I do that and back and forth, and now it's just kind of like, we don't really care about that. Let's just get the kids out of the picture, and that's about it, So they're coming to visit for the summer. I guess that's during the whole hiatus.
I feel like that's code for between this season and next season.
Yeah, so when next season starts, they'll probably be leaving again.
Yeah, bye, Dexter. Great summer.
The best summer ever. Yeah, right. You really showed us how emotional you are. Thanks.
Now that they're gone, I don't have to show emotions.
Exactly. Emotions are for kids. Wishes are for children. Oh my God, I can't believe that's how they ended the season. And he didn't. Why am I so upset about this? He didn't even let Harrison blow out the candle.
No, I think it looked better if he did it.
But at least pretend to let him try. It seems like, it would have been fine for Harrison to fake blow out the candle and Dexter do it too. And we're still focusing on Dexter's emotions, as Harrison is busy being happy, instead of us just watching Harrison do nothing. And
maybe that kid actor just was not able to blow out a candle.
Yeah, right. That baby can tie his shoes at this point.
That baby's weird looking. I can't get over it. Every time I see him, I think that's a weird looking kid.
I don't know.
I didn't mind that ending. It is kind of cheesy, but it sort of worked for me. I guess, to me, it is a reach-ahead, but it's tapping into this basic thing about the show that I do like. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a band who makes like 20 songs that sound the same. If I like that song, I can still get something out of it, even when it's kind of just rehashing.
Mhm.
So I did sort of buy into that ending. I don't know.
Well, it is a Dexter ending. To me, it didn't really come to much. I don't know, what did Dexter learn this season? He learned that he can never be like Lumen.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
What did he learn about himself? I don't know. What did he learn about Rita? I don't know. You know,
pretty much.
It's just that's a lot of stuff for nothing to happen.
Yes, I agree.
But you know, wishes are for children.
Yeah.
You know, what did he wish? You know, what did he blew out the candle? I mean, you know, he should have said, I you know, wishes are for children, but I wish, you know, I'll wish I can be like Lumen someday. I don't know. Just give me something.
They wanted to end it on a darker note, I think.
Mhm.
He has his hopeful speech and then ends it with, but that's not.
But there is no hope.
There's no hope. Yeah.
Yeah, there is no hope.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do, and I guess I don't know. To me, that worked, but I agree. It's unsatisfying on a character level.
Yeah.
But there was something, I don't know, just naturally there was a nice I don't know, flow to the way they did that.
Yeah, I didn't really like the whole ending at all. That whole scene, pretty much. I mean, Deb and Quinn show up to the birthday party, and Maria announces at the birthday party, "Look who saw the Brown Girls case."
You know what? That's another thing that I was totally confused about. So, what does that mean? Even she said, "I didn't really solve the case. I just found where the murders happened, or where the rapes happened."
Yeah, that's what's weird is I don't know what she's talking about, but why did she bring it up at a kid's birthday party? This gruesome murder case, her work. Why is she bringing that up at the birthday party to announce it like the kids give a shit? You know, like that any of the other people who don't work at the police force care. It's just a very obvious, you know, very contrived line. You know, it wasn't like, and I guess it had something to do with maybe they're setting up, you know, that she's nice to Deb and she wanted to sort of make everyone clap for Deb, because she could have just come to her quietly, like a normal captain would have done, and said, "Hey, good job for, you know, solving the case," and then she could say,
"Well, it played more like it was a bunch of the, you know, people from work hanging out at a bar, and in that context.
That's how it plays. Yeah.
Yeah, because they are everybody from the station is kind of there.
Yeah.
You know,
which they should already know, right? Don't they already know that?
I believe they do. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, what do you know? That's how contrived it is. That it just doesn't even make any sense in the context of what they're talking about. So.
Right.
Anyway,
and I'm still hung up on what that even means.
Yeah, I think it means something for the audience. It means that the case is closed because Jordan is apparently dead, and that's it. I mean, but it doesn't mean that she figured out what happened. Because she didn't tell them that she found the vigilantes and she let the vigilantes go. She definitely didn't say that.
I know. See, and that's my fundamental problem with that. Her theory was that there were these vigilantes, you know, one of them was the 13th, and there was some guy helping her, and, you know, she basically nailed what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Maria finds out about it. She knows that that's a theory that she has. Masuka comes in with evidence from the next door house that, you know, some cleanup happened there, and he thinks that supports the vigilante theory. They find the boot prints, you know, both of them. And so I feel like, you know, it was clearly established to most people that Deborah's theory was that the vigilantes did it. Then she finds this place. She actually finds the vigilantes, decides to let them go, but she reports the location, you know. So then Maria's saying she solved the case. Shouldn't that be her theory was right? I mean, it's weird because she's not saying that.
Yeah,
you know, and her theory was right, but then what does it mean to say she solved the case?
Well, what's weird is solving the case might be something different than, of course, the case getting closed, because they didn't find the vigilantes. So knowing who the suspects are and their MO, or knowing knowing that there are two people and what their MO is, Is that solving the case? I mean, maybe you solve the case when you know who the vigilantes are. That's what I would think.
I guess, but when she talks to Dexter, she's like, he's like, you think it was your vigilante? He's like, I don't know, it's just a theory. She doesn't even seem to think that, her public statement is, that was just a theory. I don't know. I just found this crime scene. So to me, there's no indication that she's publicly saying this theory is correct.
Yeah.
So then what is it that she solved?
I think it's really just a very obvious telegraphing, a very obvious wrapping up of that storyline to say, hey, audience, this storyline's over. That's all it is. Don't look at, if you try to find the meaning, you can't find it because it doesn't make any sense. Because even if she was telling people that she thought her vigilantes did it, that's not solving the case, is it?
Right.
I mean, is the case solved when is solved when you have the people who did it, or you at least know their identities. The case isn't solved when you just have a theory about who did it, and she's not going to go on record with saying that they did it, or that she has evidence that they did it because their evidence is she showed up and saw them killing this guy. So she's not going to say she showed up and saw them and left. So the only evidence that she's going to have is her previous evidence, which is the 2 footprints Masuka has, and that's it, really. That's the hard evidence they have. They have evidence that people are missing, and that the body, there's been different kill rooms and stuff, but that's it. So if that's what it takes to solve a case at Miami Metro, I see why they have so many problems.
Yeah. On a related note,
writing.
What?
Crappy writing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. They actually go visit Dan the dentist's wife in the 11th episode.
For no reason.
She's under the impression that he was going off with guys because he was gay. Mm-hmm. I think just because of Masuka's theory. Masuka's
theory is the one the police told her, which however delicately they said it, she just believed it, and then was like, "Wow, I didn't know my husband at all," which she didn't.
Yeah.
But it's just and then they say, "No, it wasn't a gay thing. He was a murderer."
Yeah. Don't worry, he wasn't gay. Yeah.
So then she's like, "Oh, that's a relief." Oh,
yeah. Phew.
Mhm.
Dodged the bullet. Yeah. It's so okay, but the thing that still troubles me though is that even though they sort of, Deb sort of realizes the vigilantes did this, and she even brings up that the crime scene may have been altered to look, make it look as though there was some weird sex thing going on, which is sort of correct, right? Mm-hmm. But there's no acknowledgement of the other guy there.
Nope, never.
Where did he come from?
They didn't look him
up.
They didn't look him up. They didn't say who had a motive to kill this guy.
Yeah.
They didn't say where was his last known location.
Yeah.
They did not investigate that. That part, it's just that's what gets me about this season, I guess. It's very obvious the crappy writing. I mean, the Santa Muerte case, the holes in that case, in that storyline. I mean, there's so many little fragments of stories that went nowhere or were very contrived, and as good as some of the other stuff was, there's just these huge glaring things of just why did you guys do that?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I mean, it was one of the best moments of the season when Dexter had to, run after the guy in the plastic at the warehouse, and before Deb and the homicide team that was great, but the way they wrapped it up was so bad.
It's almost like they just didn't want to go into any detail about it. So they do realize that guy's one of the rapists, but they don't really investigate any of the implications of the crime scene.
Because you know what, that should throw a wrench in their nice and neat Barrel Girls case, right?
Yeah.
Because now you've got someone tied to these guys who they're all tied to Jordan Chase, but you've got this extra guy, who is at this crime scene, and how does he fit in? And they never, they never. And there's even, and that's the thing. It doesn't take much to please me in writing, even though my diatribes might seem to disagree. But all we have to do is for Deb to say, yeah, and this other guy who was there wrapped in plastic, best I can tell, he was wrong place, wrong time, or best I can tell, he's got nothing to. He's just an outlier in this case, and the guys down on the 5th floor are going to handle that. It's fine to give a one-off line about things that don't matter, but things that don't matter but are not addressed become, the wheels, the squeaky wheel, that gets the grease. It's like, well, here's something that stands out. Even though it doesn't matter. It's like, well, why is it here?
Yeah. I don't mean to be all over the place, but another thing that pops into my head, which has nothing to do with that exactly, is that when they're going to Liddy's crime scene, they ride this boat thing. Boat doesn't seem like quite the right word, but it's a watercraft. And then Dexter, has to leave because Lumen calls him, about the other woman, whatever her name was.
Emily.
Yeah, Emily. And so he goes and fucking smashes in a car window and steals a car to leave the crime scene.
Couldn't believe it.
Which I thought was fucking ridiculous. Couldn't
believe Dexter stole a car in the same area where his entire police force is, and then he crashes that car.
Yep.
I feel like when the police get to the camp, aren't they going to see that bulldozer on the main road? And is it going to look like a car got knocked off of the road? And again, crappy writing. That's the kind of stuff that I think other seasons don't have. That many little aberrant story threads, these little things that just stand out. That's like, why did Dexter do that? They could have cut to another scene where, Dexter leaves the Liddy crime scene. They cut to another scene with him in a car. Or they cut to a scene where, he asks for a lift back to the station from some other officer. Whatever. They don't have to show him stealing a car because it doesn't make any sense, right?
It's just weird because they all went there on that boat, and then Dexter leaves. I mean, where do they think he went? He didn't have his car there.
Oh man, I'm just laughing thinking about I don't know where they think he went.
And I feel like it's potentially a problem because that car getting stolen is probably going to get reported at some point.
Yeah, somebody's going to walk over and say, "Hey, police officers, did you see a red Pontiac get stolen over here around 5 minutes ago?" And I don't know, Dexter Morgan just left.
And I'm pretty sure that car is actually left out. I mean, they don't necessarily dispose of it. It's upside down and kind of totaled. So I'm pretty sure
they're gonna say this car was last seen at the Liddy crime scene.
Yeah.
The only person who left was Dexter. Yeah. So what do you think about Deb's line at the end where she tells Dexter, "You're probably happy this is all over"? Do you think she suspects that he's the vigilante's helper?
I did wonder what the fuck that meant, but I did not think that she suspected that. No. Maybe I should have. What I kind of feel is that I want to talk about it specifically, but I feel like the whole thing with her actually finding them and letting them go, I feel like it's kind of a setup for her eventually finding out the full truth about Dexter and not turning him in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she actually suspects him right now. I didn't quite get that sense. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to think of if she doesn't suspect Dexter, what does she mean by "you're glad this is all over"? Because what was up for him that she knows about? She doesn't know about the Lumen thing, so that's not something that was all over that she would have been mentioning.
She did meet Lumen, but she has no idea.
She has no idea what was going on with that. She has no idea Lumen's even gone.
Does she even know that he has any troubles at all?
I don't
I'm trying to think.
She's probably thinking Dexter's had a very easy season.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Is that what that means? Oh my
I don't
God!
know
Why
what
are they so subtle? Jesus.
Dude, I'm telling you, maybe I don't know if subtle is the word, but there's something. I don't know what she could mean. I mean, nothing's over unless she's talking about the Quinn thing, which shouldn't have been Dexter's issue.
Right.
I don't know what Deb is talking about. I really don't. I was trying to think. Okay, well, what does she mean by that? What does he think? What does she think? What does he think she means?
What's over? What's over, Deborah?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Maybe
that is what that means.
Case. I mean, maybe it's kind of talking about the Barrel Girls case, but it's like, was that really on his plate? I mean, he did like 2 days of work on that or something.
Yeah, that wasn't his thing at all. Yeah, that's weird. Subtle is not the right word. That might be too complimentary. Maybe just vague or something. Like, I feel like they go between being very vague and being very, painfully obvious. And it's a weird mix. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, I didn't even think about that line, but now that you mention it, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. And why not? Why can't I explain a simple line from her?
Yeah, at the end of the season,
it's not supposed to be a mystery, right? We're supposed to know what she's talking about, right?
That's, again, I think, the writing, I mean, I think that's when it's that vague and sort of uneven with what Quinn thinks, what Dexter thinks, what Deb thinks at the end of the episode. I mean, that's weird.
Yeah.
That
is really weird. I didn't realize there was ambiguity about Deb. God damn it, there is, though.
Yeah.
I wonder if she does suspect Dexter. I mean, like I said in the previous podcast, I did feel like if she could click that gear in her head, which is blocking her from suspecting Dexter of anything, she might think about Lumen and the fact that she fits the profile and the fact that she just suddenly appeared and the fact that she's now gone and possibly make that connection. And maybe that is somehow a hint that she actually knows. I just think it's weird. I mean, like I specifically want to talk about the scene where she actually finds them behind the.
I want to say real quick that I want to say I don't think Deb knows because I don't think Deb is a very subtle person. If she thought Dexter was the vigilante, she's not going to throw him a thumbs up and a wink. She's going to confront him and say, "Are you the vigilante? I know you're the vigilante." I feel like Deb is a very straightforward person.
You're right.
And I don't think she would just end it with, knowing this about her brother, something that crazy. I don't think she would just go, glad you think, aren't you happy this is over, wink, and that'd be the end. I just don't, I mean, even at the end of the season, I feel like Deb, if you're writing Deb as a true to her character, she would interrupt the finale to get in Dexter's face about this if she knew it. So I feel like she doesn't suspect it. I feel like it's sort of vague, crappy writing that they're intimating that she might suspect. Because they when you have vague stuff, it makes things seem more interesting than they are. Because it takes some skill to pin down things and make them good. But if you're vague about what the answer is, then it's like, well, maybe it's a good answer, maybe it's not a good answer. I don't know.
Right.
So what do you want to say about
but not vague in an interesting way, just
vague
in a vaguey way. Like there's really no there's really no interest. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I want Dexter to say that. Like, no, it's you who should be glad this is all over.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's almost like if he says, "Yeah, I'm glad this is all over," she's like, "Gotcha. I knew you were into something."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, what's this? What am I talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I was talking about Harrison's birthday. What are you talking about, Dexter?
Yeah. I agree, and it could just be the writers not being on target with what her character would do. Yeah. And she does really suspect or something. I agree with you that
that could be the case.
That her actual reaction really should be to get in his face about it. I agree, but I didn't even think about it. It's like there's even more ambiguity in this episode than I realized, and I saw a lot. Oh, man.
Yeah, you watched it twice. Jeez.
Yeah, and it's not because I loved it so much. It's just because I wasn't able to understand it, and that's weird. Because it's a simple show. It's really not complicated. It shouldn't be hard to understand.
Yeah. You know, this season had the change in the writers or whatever, and I feel like maybe next season,
specifically.
The showrunner, yeah. So maybe next season might be better, since maybe this season was a sort of weird changing of the guards and things weren't as smooth or something. So
yeah,
I'm kind of hopeful maybe next season might be a little bit more streamlined and finessing, finesseful. I don't know what the word is. Finessy, yeah. And but okay, so what did you want to say about the Deb and when she finds the vigilantes?
Well, first I wanted to ask if you have any thoughts about that scene.
In terms of what?
Just in general, like, what did you think about the scene itself? What do you think about that as a resolution?
It was cool. Yeah, you know, it was as close to Deb finding out Dexter's who he is, you know, Dexter's Dexter than we've seen. I thought it was fairly well done with, you know, they just happened to kind of be behind the plastic and, you know, and she can sort of see them but not really tell who they are. And I pretty much liked the scene. I thought it was pretty good. They did a good job about putting Deb in a place where she could feel sympathy for the vigilantes. You know, she kept watching those videos over and over, and so I thought it, you know, it felt very realistic that she would get to that place and to sort of know that that they weren't out just killing people to kill people. They were getting revenge against guys who Deb thinks should die, and it was kind of all said and done. And so it's kind of like, you know, if, you know, I think I liked it because I think things would have happened differently if, you know, if another abuser was still out there, she probably would have taken the vigilantes in. But since everyone was dead and she, you know, feels relatively sure that the vigilantes will stop killing because all the guys are dead, then the only thing that she could do in this situation would be to throw them in jail. And what kind of sort of justice is that for them, since they've kind of already killed everybody? So I thought it played very naturally. I thought it was pretty good, pretty well done, and you know, a good way of getting Deb and Dexter at that point to where Dexter's almost found out. You know, he knows that Deb is close to finding him out. But without actually having to cross that line of, you know, or should I say, pierce through the curtain, through behind the curtain.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally, yeah. So yeah, it played out pretty well, I thought. What did you think?
I'm gonna agree that, like, as I've said, like, individual scenes I like, and that scene on its own I like. I do think initially when I watched it, I was hung up on when I realized that they were behind a conveniently opaque curtain. I realized, oh no, this is why she's not going to find out. And I was kind of stuck on that's their cop-out. God damn it, that's their cop-out.
Yeah.
But I think when you listen to it, it is good. It's well acted. It's a nice scene. But I think, like, season 5, like, I'm just ready to raise the stakes. I'm tired of being toyed with about that. You know, and I do feel like they're at least sort of heading in that direction, but for me it's just proceeding way too slowly. You know, I feel like she's still so far from the truth about Dexter, even if she knew he was one of the vigilantes. That isn't exactly knowing everything about Dexter. So
exactly, yeah.
So I guess I would like that to have progressed more at this point, because I feel like it's, to me, the relationship between Dexter and Deborah is pretty significant to the show, and I just think it's never going to be as strong as I want it to be until she actually knows who Dexter really is. You know, and she's just totally in the dark about him and has been for the whole show. And so anyway, teasing us with it so much and having her come so close, where she actually could have seen him if she chose to. You know, was frustrating to me on a level, even though I do like the scene itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I guess, like, I'm ready, you know, and I thought this is a finale, like, let's raise the stakes here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't episode 6 or whatever, where obviously she's not going to find out then. You know, so I don't know. I do like it, but it was kind of disappointing to me.
Well, Deb can't find out Dexter's a vigilante, you know, because the kids are coming this summer. So that would ruin things.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, like, since this is the first time Deb has gotten this close, it was fine to me. If this was, like, this, you know, the second time she's gotten this close, I would be like, okay, this is a cop-out. You guys aren't moving. But this is as close as she's ever gotten to, you know, she sees Dexter at a crime scene. You know, it's different than finding his blood slides or something, or finding some other kind of evidence, and she has him at the scene of the crime. So I thought it was you know, I thought it was fairly fair that she got to this point. You know, but I feel like if by the end of next season she's not further than it is, they are spinning their wheels. And I think, you know, you're upset that they're not progressing faster on that storyline. I'm upset they're not progressing faster on Dexter's sort of character growth. You know, and
I agree with that too. I just wanted to bring this up as a extra thing.
Totally, and I just feel like, what are they progressing in? You know,
more shit happening.
Yeah, shit's happening, but what's actually progressing? You know, what's actually building upon? That's my thing. I just feel like every season he's learning what kind of relationships don't work when you're a serial killer, and you know, which is all of them. And I just feel like, you know, it seems like he needs to be building to something. It needs to be under you know, to have some sort of cumulative effect where he can say, you know, this is just like with Lila. I'm not going to make the same mistakes I made with her. Sure, call back season 2 character. I don't care. You know, tell us that he understands that he's been through shit and that he should be learning lessons. And when you have Harry show up saying the same thing all the time, you know, Dexter, I don't know if you should be doing this, and you already know that because every season I come to you and I say the same thing. I mean, you have Harry repeating himself that he's repeating himself. You know, he that's just insane to me. You know, it's weird. It's like, okay, Harry shouldn't be saying the same things at this. At the finale every season, Harry's like, Dexter, I think you should think about this some more. This plan isn't going to work. You know, did you think it through? You know.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, you know. And again, you know, the big questions Dexter always asks himself are the same questions. And maybe that's true of life. Maybe in life we just always ask ourselves the same questions and we never get good answers, so we always ask the same questions. But when the question is, can I be a serial killer and have a good relationship with somebody, you know, and let them know, the answer is no, man. Like, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone who isn't at some point harmed by your dirty little secret. And it's like, he needs to realize that the trick to his happiness is to get rid of his dark passenger, not to make room in the car for somebody else and his dark passenger. You know, or to figure out, maybe if my loved one rides in the front seat, my dark passenger rides in the back seat, we can be happy. Or, you know, it's like he's trying to rearrange the people on his journey of life, and it's like he needs to kick out the dark passenger. And I know they wanted to end this season on a dark note. That's fine. It's Dexter. It's a dark show. But her fucking name is Lumen, and show that there's some shred of light. Don't say there's a shred of light, but only for kids. The end. You know. So I just feel like if they're not going to if they can't even give us the hope of progress with this whole storyline about someone who gives them hope. Her name is Lumen. You know, they made us deal with a character named Lumen, and they didn't, you know, bring it on home. You know, I think it's like tossing a ball up in the air, getting ready to hit it, and then going, nah, I'm not going to swing at that. You know.
Yeah, I can't hit that.
I ain't hit that. It's like, well, why'd you toss in the air then? You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think for my interest in the show, if it's just really going to become a procedural, you know, where everything kind of happens and there's, you know, 60% police cases and 40% Dexter stuff or vice versa or whatever, like, you know, I might keep watching as long as it's, you know, interesting and the characters are, you know, I care about the characters. But if it's not actually going to give me some idea that there's real character growth that's apparent, that, like, he's not going to make the same mistakes every season and stuff like that, you know, then I'm going to be inclined to follow less. You know, if next season is just going to be a retread of season 4 or something, you know, if by the 3rd episode we know how the season's going to end, that's kind of lame. You know?
Yes. I agree.
You don't take my word for it. Dun-dun-dun.
Another thing that I feel the need to bring up is Jordan Chase.
Oh, the villain that could.
Well, I guess he sort of could. He did, but then he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the end he was kind of a one-note character, but I did like that one note. I thought he played that pretty well. I liked how in most situations, it's kind of cheesy, but it sort of worked for me, how most situations he would kind of start psychoanalyzing whoever he was talking to. Mm-hmm. And sort of try to get in their head and, like, read them, and actually did a pretty good job of it. Like, most of the time what he said about them was pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the scene with him and Deborah, like, he starts trying to analyze what's going on. No, it's you I'm concerned about. You know, she doesn't really necessarily fall for it, but he actually is trying to sort of manipulate her in that scene. And then, you know, he does it even when he's on the table about to be killed. He's still
mm-hmm. doing
it. You know,
mm-hmm.
like he's that like motivational thing where he tries to get see what people's problems are, identify them, and sort of, you know, steer people in a certain direction. Like he definitely had that. Like they made that very clear, and I liked that aspect of his character. It was kind of his only aspect, but
yeah,
which is a weakness, I think. But I did think that was strong, at least. It made him kind of interesting. I mean, it is sort of just a standard talking villain in a way, but I just appreciate, like, he identifies that Lumen's been changed by Dexter, and even takes credit himself for, you know, Lumen discovering this kind of strength. And I feel like that's
mm-hmm.
kind of true, even though, you know, that doesn't necessarily justify what he did.
Well, yeah, she says, I wouldn't have had this if you didn't do this to me. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, you can't necessarily say she's a better person just because she's willing to kill people now.
Right.
You know, that's a weird thing to say.
It is.
But, yeah, I know I liked a lot of that stuff. I thought his, you know, sort of the actual end kill scene was sort of the most lackluster, but the sort of build-up to his last scene I thought was pretty good. And capturing Dexter and sort of having them both, you know, sort of under his thumb was cool, but then he didn't notice the other knife. And, you know, the villains always screw up. They have to because they can't win, but it's like, come on, dude, you got a gun, you know, come on, you know, I don't think he ever fully grasped what Dexter was capable of. He didn't really know who he was fucking with. And I think that's what's weird, is that they set up this whole thing where he's interested in Dexter from the beginning. They set up this whole thing where he's psychoanalyzing him. They even spend time together personally.
Yeah.
Yet he never fully gets what Dexter's up to. He never fully gets why Dexter's invested, that Dexter would be killing him if he had never met Lumen. You know, he'd be killing him if he knew he had done this to these girls anyway. So it's like he never knew who he was up against, so it's kind of no wonder that he failed, you know. But yeah, a lot of those scenes I did like. John Lee Miller did a great job. I like him as an actor. He did a really good job. And but yeah, it's one of those things where the villain when they're sort of stripped of their power, you know, when his henchmen are gone, he's got really nothing but himself.
Yep.
You know, he's kind of scary, he's sort of threatening, you know, but what's weird is, and I think something that made him completely different than Trinity is that, you know, Jordan Chase didn't like to hurt people directly.
Yes.
So you're not necessarily going to be scared of him when he captures you, because he's not going to sort of get this thrill out of hurting you, because that's the last thing he wants to do is have to do it directly.
Right.
So that was what was different when he captured Lumen, and I'm thinking, or he might hurt her, but he doesn't like want to.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to do it because he's upset about what happened, but he doesn't sort of. He would prefer to have somebody else do it. So it's not like even like when she's captured, this is the ideal circumstance for him. You know, and so
right.
that kind of diminished his sort of threatening quality too, because it's not like, you know, he's the ice truck killer or he's someone who's going to get off on killing these people. It's like, no, he gets off on controlling other people into doing these things, and so that kind of took some of the sting out of his final scenes, I think. But in general, yeah, you know, and he talks to Lumen. You know, if Lumen was really strong and she had really changed, she wouldn't have fallen for his trap when he's goading her into killing him, you know. I
agree. It felt like he won.
Yeah, it did feel like he won.
Even though he was killed, like, he totally got to her, just as much as he did when he originally had her.
Totally.
You know? And so, yeah, it does feel like a kind of triumph for him, and I think that's sort of what he's going for. And it is weird to end on that note. Like, Jordan Chase wins the final battle. He
does. He totally wins, and he showed that he was able to manipulate her to the very end.
Yeah.
She should have said, "I know what you're doing, Jordan.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. It's not going to work. You know."
Yeah.
And I'm going to kill you when I want to kill you or something. I just don't get why. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it seems like it's weird to set up that she's changed and she's different, yet she falls into the same pattern. So it's like, well, what are you guys doing in that writer's room? You know, why aren't you consistent about a character growth and change? It's like either she's different and strong and not susceptible to him, or she isn't.
Yeah,
but it's kind of both. So that's the vagueness that you see this season.
Right. I agree. And all Lumen can say is, you know, this is for all the people you've hurt, and it just feels very weak compared to
not even one stab per victim.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just here's one single stab and you're dead before I'm finishing talking. You know, it's. Yeah, but like I said, his actual kill scene wasn't as good as the build-up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like sort of the way it was resolved, but I did sort of like how he was on the table. I like how he really, like you said, like he's still intimidating her basically, even though he's strapped down and about to be killed.
Yeah, and I mean, none of the same ritual. You know, he knew who his victims were, but none of that whole like recanting of the victims and you know, Dexter cutting his face and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't do that at all.
You know, I mean, she apologized for just killing him. You know. And that's the thing. Why not make Jordan go through that ritual? Why not, you know, when he's trying to goad her, she can say, "You're not in control of this. This is going to happen our way," and let him keep talking or something. But like, you know, make him have to deal with not being in control up until the very last moment of his death. You know, to me, that's winning against someone like Jordan Chase.
Yeah.
You know, but. I don't write on Dexter, so.
Yeah. Like, I guess I feel like in the scene with Deborah, she pretty much handled it in the right way, which was just kind of ignore his attempts to, and just do her job and say what she wants to say and get it, you know, leave.
And what he was saying was kind of off base anyway. You know, he was saying, "Oh, you're just obsessed with me, whatever," and it's like that's totally not her. You know, that's not going to make her. That's not threatening to her because it's just totally untrue.
Right.
You know, and he stops in his tracks when he says there's a vigilante out there, which kind of she probably thinks she's onto something, that she's right when he does stop talking, does stop attacking her, right where she says that, because he knows it's true.
Yes.
He knows Lumen is out there with Dexter, so.
He does, yes. And then there's the bit where he opens up Dexter's knife pack, and he says, "I look at this and I think there's a greatness in you, but then I look at you and you're just a loser like the people in my seminars." So I didn't quite know what to make of that. I want to. It does seem to suggest that he doesn't really understand Dexter fully by the end. Like he.
To me, it's saying it's sort of again, Dexter's been off his game, and I feel like that's really that's the discrepancy is. Dexter isn't operating like the master his knife collection would suggest. Man, if you would have saw him in season 1 or season 2, you'd have a different impression. You know what I mean? I feel like he was more on top of his game back then. Of course, he had sort of less problems. Not that family is problems, but they are. So that's again, that's what's weird is he sort of insults his prowess as a killer or whatever, or as a force of whatever. And but then Dexter kind of proves him wrong by getting the upper hand. Yeah, because he does have a knife. I don't know how he got that knife. How that knife was on him. Was it on him when he crashed? Did Jordan not check him for weapons? Again, sloppy writing, but he gets the knife and he gets the upper hand and he stabs him in the foot and gets him on the table and Yeah. I would have much preferred to see Lumen subdue him somehow. Because I'm thinking when he takes Lumen to there, I'm thinking, oh man, she's just gonna kick his ass. She's gonna find some way to get loose and really. And I was almost thinking by the time Dexter got there, it would be in time to help kill him. But she was already sort of not really needing his help that much. That's how strong I thought she had gotten, but. They went the other route. Yeah, right. I mean, don't we want to see Lumen kick his ass? Don't
that
we want
should
to see
be
her,
the point.
Yeah, really have an opportunity to back at the turf where she was abused on his home turf, kick his ass and subdue him, and Dexter shows up just in time, or something to maybe Jordan, is about to, get the final blow on her by the end of it, but she gave him a beating, and then Dexter comes in to help. But something, but I don't know. They didn't, all she gets is to stab him and then leave Dexter cold in the dust. And it's like I watched the whole season for that.
Yeah, I agree. She's basically just a damsel in distress at the end, which is disappointing because they want to tell us, no, she's changed. She's not that anymore, but show it. I mean, don't just say it.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but if the character doesn't do it, or we don't see them doing it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to have Dexter be the hero, and it would have been much more satisfying in a way to have her get to the point where she can actually collect herself and figure out how to handle the situation.
Mm-hmm. When oh, go ahead.
Because that's the kind of thing she should have learned from Dexter.
Exactly. And doesn't Dexter buys her that knife? When does she use that? I'm sure she uses it at some point. I can't remember when though. Doesn't she use that knife?
Yes, she does. I think she uses it. Because I think at the end of the second to last episode, Dexter sees the knife on the ground. Maybe that's the knife he stabs Jordan with.
Well, no, he stabbed Jordan with a knife from his own collection because one was missing.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened with that.
Okay.
I think the knife, maybe the knife that Lumen had, did she stab somebody with it?
Yeah, maybe initially when she goes to see Emily and Jordan Chase is revealed, I think she makes a play to get away there. Maybe that's when she uses it.
Okay.
That would be my guess, because he does find it there,
Mhm.
which suggests that she tried to use it and, like, dropped it.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look now just for definiteness. Oh, yeah. She's going for a purse. I think she's about to pull it out. And Dexter swings in. Oh, they don't even show it. Okay, I see what happened. So they cut from, like, Jordan kills Emily, and then Lumen runs for her purse. She reaches into it. Then they cut to Dexter in the car, arriving at the house, and he goes inside. He sees the blood on the floor. He sees Emily's dead body, and then he goes out back and he sees the knife on the ground with blood on it.
Whose blood is it?
I don't know.
I guess that's for Masuka to find out later.
I don't know, but I think the implication is that she tried to fight him off with the knife and failed.
Yeah. Anyway, I was kind of wondering about that knife thing. They could have saved that knife thing for the end when she's captured, and somehow she uses that to kind of get away. But I was gonna say, another suggestion would be when Jordan does have her captured and tied up in the basement, and that scene when he gets in her face and he kind of bites at her.
Yeah.
Which is nice and creepy.
Very creepy.
She could have like headbutted him or something.
Yeah.
It's something to show that she's not intimidated by him anymore. That even if he kills her, like, she knows that won't be the end of it. She knows Dexter's out there. Like, I don't know. There's definitely ways that could have made her seem stronger.
Yeah. I agree. And it would have been more satisfying for her to, get to the point where she could actually do that stuff.
Yeah.
Because then it would feel like she has an arc that makes sense.
Mhm.
Instead of just telling us, oh, there's an arc there, we're just going to tell you about it rather than illustrate it through the story.
Yeah. Well, she missed her opportunity to go around the world with her ex-fiancé. Maybe she can catch up with him somewhere.
Yeah, maybe that's what she's going to do.
Mhm.
I'm done with all that now.
It's just so very uncompelling to me that the whole thing, Dexter falls in love with Lumen and she just leaves him at the drop of a dime / killing all of her abusers. And, with sort of not a second thought, and then I just think it's funny. I would never thought that I would say this, but I want him to think about Rita more. I just feel like the whole point should have been to tie back to Rita, and then it just kind of vaguely does / doesn't, So I don't know what he's going to think next season.
I feel like they kind of tried to force it. I think Rita only really mattered in the first couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff this season didn't really.
The first couple episodes wasn't really about him and Rita. It was definitely him dealing with the aftermath of Rita's death, and he had the whole trying to kill again thing. But he got back on the horse pretty fast and never thought twice about her again. I just feel like she never got what she deserved, I think. And maybe that's just the show being dark or something, I don't know, but he never convinced me that she was important. And I feel like the whole Tryst with Lumen just sullies that whole thing to me. Like, it's just like, wow, you just replaced her with another blonde. That quick, a couple days, a week, or 2 weeks after your wife dies, you're with someone else, and you're not even questioning if that makes sense, and you never do, even when your kid asks you. To me, those are kind of obvious things the character has to deal with, right? I just don't see why he never really kind of dealt. I mean, they bring it up, obviously. So they say, you know, they have asked her, be the one to say, oh, is this helping you with Mom, you know?
Mhm.
But they don't give an answer. They show that he's thinking about it. They show that it is something in his mind, but they don't actually say yes or no.
Yeah. It seems like more vagueness.
Yeah, it's more vagueness.
I don't quite know what. When she originally said it, I thought, you know, we are supposed to kind of think that, and I guess I still think that way, but it is weird that they don't feel the need to make that a little bit more explicit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I agree. I mean, I do feel like Rita only second only to Dokes in terms of getting screwed as a character after her death.
Totally.
And really, like, characters not getting their due, especially on TV shows that make me care about it. And like Rita, you know, she was the main character on the show for 4 years. I mean, I do feel that she deserves more. I agree. I mean, I think that they gestured in that direction. They didn't totally ignore her, but it wasn't enough. It was pretty weak. And I think there is, you know, if you cut out a few lines and maybe an episode or two, you could kind of have this season, you know, you could transplant this season somewhere else pretty easily, you know, if you take out the Rita relationship. Like, it's kind of unconnected to that. You know?
Even in the finale, you don't have Dexter saying, you know, I wish Rita was here at Harris's birthday. His first birthday or something?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's
the big one.
The big one, right? That's the big one.
Yeah.
And it's just like, even at the end, he's not even thinking about her, you know, like, at the end of the season, just be like, yeah, maybe the Lumen thing did help me with Rita or something.
No, it's about him. He's very very self-centered in terms of, you know, for him, Lumen was about him.
Mhm.
Seemingly, because he definitely doesn't seem to. I mean, I do think the idea is partially that, you know, he was never able to share himself with Rita fully.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of always going to be a problem with their relationship, and he thought, you know, with Lumina, since I actually have done that, maybe this can actually somehow work. Because at least you know, I'm being fully honest about who I am. But I don't know. It just gets shoved off to the side. I mean, I think that's the idea they were going for. You know, it's sort of like I can kind of see what they wanted to do. I think in a lot of ways they failed to accomplish what I think they clearly wanted to do.
Mhm.
You know, and I do agree. I think if you want to say that part of helping Lumen was about Rita, I think Dexter does need to at least kind of acknowledge that at some point. It seems like that's Astor's theory.
And it's a great theory, and I like the character aspect of you know, she's okay with that she realizes that that's something that he might need, you know, like to transfer, you know, his issues with Rita passing to this other person, and like I like that she's giving him this out that he never asked for, you know. And I even like the idea that he wasn't even aware that he might be doing this. But I feel like it's better at the end if he looks back when she asks him for the second time, did it help? And now that it's totally over, Lumen's gone, and he can look back over the season and go, it started with my wife dying and it ended with Lumen leaving me. Did this help? I just don't know why he can't utter a yes or some sort of opinion about it, or you know, something. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind
of.
Like
he got away with the first answer because he told her he loved her. You know, that was his response.
Yeah.
And that sort of made some weird sense. You know, that felt right in the moment.
Yes.
But this was just silence. Like, I'm closing my eyes. I'm upset.
Yes.
I agree. I mean, I think you can see the things that they wanted to do, and really a lot of it just came down to how they wrap things up or how they didn't wrap things up.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you can wrap things up in a one-off line. Just make it plausible. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
Which
No,
they
I
try
agree.
to do that, you know. Detective Morgan solving the Barrel Girls case. What? Harris is like, what you talking about, Maria? This didn't solve that case. She doesn't know who the vigilantes are.
You didn't even
She's
believe
got-
her theory.
She's got no body. She doesn't, you know, there's no, like, there's no blood. There's no murder weapon.
She doesn't even think she solved it.
And she won't go on the record to say that that's the case. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. And Maria didn't even believe it. Remember the scene before that when she tells her about her theory, Maria's like, whatever.
Yeah, like, what? No, did you say vigilante? Yeah.
Oh, Dexter. Oh, man.
No, you're right. It's like, oh, easy one-line wrap-up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whoops, it doesn't make any sense?
Yeah,
well.
You can wrap things up in one line. It's just it just can't be any line, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's gotta work.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could have said something. You know, Maria could have said, "Congratulations to Detective Morgan for finding the last brother in the Santa Muerte case."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it would have been like, what? Okay, that all happened off screen. Okay, well, at least that case is closed. You know, or something. It would have been a weird line to say, but that's how you can but that's the line you can get away with because that's all that was missing was the brother, and then the case was closed.
Right.
You know, but the vigilante thing makes no sense for her to say it's all wrapped up because they have nothing.
Right. It's also, to me, kind of frustrating, like, these days, especially with seasons 4 and 5. Actually, I think 3 had this, too. Who knows? Maybe they all do if I think about it hard enough. But the fact that the police, like, are really, like, continuously in the dark about what actually happened, like, to them, you know, even Trinity just disappeared, and then all these rapists just disappear, and there's all this weird stuff, like, surrounded with it, you know, there's even, like, a frame job for some it's like somebody framed someone to be Trinity, you know, that's weird, and then there was this guy named Kyle Butler who was killed who was involved with Trinity, like, something weird's going on there, but they have no idea what. You know, and same thing with this Barrel Ghost case. I mean, Maria can say she solved it all she wants. And, yeah, she was right about the vigilante theory. But they really, you know, they really just don't know for sure what happened at all.
No.
You know, and it's just weird to have the police seem so, like, completely inept, like, that they never actually solve cases, even when they say they do.
Are they making a statement about law enforcement in America, or?
I don't think so. But there's since, like, the show is centered on a police department, it seems weird that they kind of, you know, rarely succeed. You know, I mean, I feel like on a procedural show, you know, they solve cases. Like, that's their
They
thing.
find all the evidence, and they find all the suspects, and they figure it out by the end who did what and why,
Yeah, and on this it's more like, well, some weird shit happened with that case. I don't know.
Masuka, wrap this case up for us. Tell us what happened, buddy. Come up with the wild theory real quick. Use the power of your back tattoo.
It's a lot of power.
Yeah, it's a big tattoo. A lot of tattoo.
But yeah, I don't know. It's the show is just kind of ridiculous in certain ways, and I continue to care about it. At a certain point, I feel like it's going to be like, it's not about the police, it's not about serial killers, it's just about the characters and their relationships, and you know, that's what you should care about. Because I feel like they do a lot of that stuff, but I don't know. I feel like the plot interest that they originally had has kind of evaporated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just some of that stuff from the earlier seasons just had such seeming weight. I mean, looking back, we can say, well, that wasn't really significant, but they made it feel like it was. And I feel like that's the magic of TV most of the time, because really, like, in your average episode, usually nothing particularly significant happens, but they make it feel like it is significant at the time, and so you care. you know? And I feel like they've sort of lost the ability to weave that magic.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when the stuff that's happening is stuff we've already known, doesn't matter. You know, some of the storylines that it's like, well, this is just a case of the, you know, this is just the main case they're going to work for these couple episodes. You know, we've seen this story structure before. So that's the thing, like, they got to come up with new stuff for us to get in that mode of caring about the stuff that doesn't matter. Because that is, that really is a large part of any show, is to get you to care about stuff that in the long run you won't care about because it doesn't matter. But, you know, if you don't have, everything can't matter, at the end. So that's just the nature of, sort of storytelling. But,
right.
Yeah, I just think they got to change what they're fooling us into caring about, Because if it's the same stuff, if it's, can you share your, dark passenger with somebody? I mean, every time they do that, I'm going to care about it less and less because I know what the answer is already,
Yeah, yeah. If they do this next season, I will be amazed. I feel like there's no way they can make this the plot again.
I mean, it's gonna be a guest star. It's gonna be a guest star who Dexter has to have some relationship with, and maybe it'll be, hopefully it'll be a different kind of relationship. I mean, they've done romantic interest twice. They've done brother peer figure. Mm-hmm. They've done father mentor figure. Yeah. When they did brother twice because of his real brother. Yeah. So basically, I mean, they've done two of each, and then so they can do another father mentor figure. That would be two for that. Okay, and then they can start doing other things that they haven't done yet. Right. Which I don't know what that would be. Maybe he tells the babysitter. I don't know. I'll
just throw in the babysitter was obviously just a device to get the baby out of the way for the last few episodes.
I mean, so just a plot device to get her out of the way and get the baby out of the way, and it really came to nothing in the long run. And why even go through that St. Bridget crap? That was, that was just not even worth the time of developing her character when it's. You're just going to show up with the cake at the end of the episode, the end of the season. And
they didn't do anything with her after that.
Didn't do anything with her.
I almost feel like, what's the point? What's the point in it, devoting any time to her at all? Why not just say,
I don't know.
I got Harrison a babysitter. Mm-hmm. I can't watch him all the time.
Exactly. Why get that? I mean, I don't want to say why get that actress, but I feel like she evoked a quality, like she was going to be really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, it made me think there was more to her.
Yeah.
And
for her to just be the babysitter, they could have got someone else.
Absolutely. It didn't require. They didn't even need to give her many lines. I mean, I think she easily could have fulfilled that function.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was just kind of timed. I mean, they got some story out of it, but it didn't really come to anything. And again, things that we cared about, that didn't come to anything. Yeah. It just seems like they, just were sort of killing time with that kind of that plot early on.
Yes. I think back to some of the stuff in the first season, he's going to these crime scenes, that are reminiscent of things from his past. He's finding a smiley face in one of his blood slides. He knows this killer is taunting him, but he doesn't know who he is or how he knows about him. And that's just such a great mystery. And
it was fun to see Dexter be curious.
Yeah.
It was fun to see him go, ooh, I don't know what's going on here. Now I'm interested. Ooh, this killer's doing things I don't know how to do. I'm interested, Yeah. He's been sleepwalking since Rita's death. His mood. He seemed different as a character. He was never really jovial this season. None of that joking with Masuka stuff, and he definitely had. There was a fog over this season. I think that other seasons didn't necessarily have.
Yeah, I agree. But looking back, it's well, it was his brother. So the answer is kind of mundane, but at the time, it was a very nicely done mystery where I really wanted to know what was going on with that. You know, and I never really felt that with any of the plots this season. They never really got to that level of interest. Or season 2, you know, with them actually finding all the bodies he dumped and, you know, Doak's actually finding out about him. You know, I mean, all that stuff was pretty strong. You know, and so I don't know, I sort of miss those days of Dexter where I actually felt like there were stakes, even when the reality was there weren't, you know. That's just, I agree with you about the character stuff, but just on a plot level, I feel like they're not doing as well either.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's hard I think it's hard for the show to be as good as it used to be when it's subtracting, you know, so many key elements to making a show good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why this season's been the worst to me. It's not that the season itself is horrible, but just compared to the other seasons where they had those main elements that were working and interesting, it's like, well, this season doesn't have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I kept watching. I never got super bored. You know, I never was, like, dreading the next episode. I was still interested to see, you know, I was definitely interested to see what happened and how things would get wrapped up, but it just still, it was missing, you know, a couple of X factors.
And I actually like that they de-emphasized the kill of the week stuff. I mean, in previous seasons, we would get, like, maybe 10 kills of the week.
Yeah, I'm actually very glad because it didn't mean anything. It got to be like, oh, I did some research before the episode started, and this is the guy I'm going to kill. And it was just like, okay, well, I guess he deserves to die. I mean, you know, sure, Dexter. I found myself questioning Dexter's judgment, you know, which I didn't used to really do.
And at this point, I feel like the innocent death toll is starting to pile up. I mean,
yes.
We had, I mean, obviously, you know, he's at least, like, partially implicated in a number of deaths just indirectly, including, like, Doak's. But, you know, then we have the guy he actually kills who's innocent last season and is upset about it at the end of the episode, but never really again. No. And then we have the guy in the bathroom this season, the infamous guy in the bathroom this season, who...
We never gives another thought to.
No. I mean, there's a line that he did that later, but it doesn't seem as though he really appreciates the fact that he just murdered some random person just because of his own personal problems. I mean, that's crazy. And I like that scene.
That's beyond the pale. That's beyond the pale, I think. That's, you know.
Yeah, it's too much. Like, I like that scene, but it's like if you're going to do that, you need to actually deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, now we have Liddy, who... Okay, he was a somewhat sleazy cop, but there's really no indication in my mind that he deserved to die. No. I mean, he was right about Dexter. He, in legal terms and in a way, moral terms, he had every right to, you know, try to make a bust on Dexter.
Yeah.
You know, and even if he was going outside certain channels, I mean, I don't think that warrants his death at all. And really, it just comes down to Dexter's need to not get caught. And at a certain point, I mean, how many people is Dexter going to kill just to preserve himself? And, you know, can he really still be sympathetic when the innocent death toll starts to pile up? Because his whole saving grace is not killing innocent people.
And that's you know, the sort of flip side to that idea is what's interesting about Dexter is that he, you know, specifically kills the bad people. Like he's a serial killer who goes after people who, you know, you can sort of think deserve to die. Like they've already done something bad, and this is why you can, you know, get on board with his story in the first place. Is because he's killing guilty people. Yeah. So if you flip that on its head, and now you have innocent people joining that list, and he's not even necessarily vetting the guilty people. It's just kind of like, you're really losing. They're really watering down the crux of the show.
Right, exactly. And that's, I mean, they really shouldn't do that. Even if they're going to, like, have poor character development or uninteresting plots, at the very least, don't abandon the basic concept of the show.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, I do feel like that's becoming a problem. And I think, again, just like Dexter being off his game, it's not necessarily a problem to do it, but at least have Dexter acknowledge it, at least have it be significant.
To me, if he doesn't ever acknowledge it, if he goes the whole season being off his game and he doesn't acknowledge it, to me that means the writers weren't doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
And not on top of that, it seems to me to suggest they didn't realize the pattern.
Right.
Because it's one thing to go, write half the season and then look back and say, Dexter's kind of off his game the way we wrote these episodes. Let's, episode 10, let's have him comment about how bad he's been.
Yeah.
And make him question, how does he balance whatever, but they never do that. So it seems like not only did they not specifically make him off his game, but they didn't even really notice he was off his game.
Right.
So that's, insult to injury.
Yeah, like for them, this is Dexter just, in his normal level of abilities.
Yeah.
And, it's like they didn't really remember how good he used to be.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of sad.
Yeah, it seems like they think as long as he's got his gloves and his knife kit, then that's Dexter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, he didn't go into any frenzy about hiding evidence and hiding his knives like he usually does and hiding the blood.
He carries his kill tools to a crime scene.
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe he had his kill tools with him all day long. Why didn't he leave them in the car? Well, I guess, he wasn't going to go back to that car.
Well, he hadn't stolen that car yet.
Well, no, but I mean, how did he get to work?
Oh.
He does have an automobile, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, why not leave that in his car, assuming
Sure.
He shouldn't go to work thinking, I'm going to need my kill tool with me at work, just in case. You know what I mean? I feel like he should be thinking, I'm going to leave work later, I'll leave my kill tools in my car.
Yeah.
And then all he has is when he does get called to the crime scene, hey, good thing I didn't bring my kill tools with me.
Right.
And then when he's leaving, he can just give an offhand comment to an officer and say, hey, can you give me a ride back to the station, or go back to the boat and say, hey, you mind? We don't have to see it, And I feel like he doesn't have to steal a car.
Right.
But then maybe they have him steal a car because he's going to crash it.
I think that is why.
He's going to crash a car, so they don't want it to be his.
Yeah, that would be implicating him. Yeah, because that's actually what I thought. Like, when I originally watched the episode, I forgot that he stole a car. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I guess I blotted it out or something. But
yeah.
I was like, wow, he just crashed his car out there. I don't know how that's going to look.
Well, I just hope none of his DNA is in the car that he just flipped in.
Oh, good point.
I'm sure not one hair follicle fell off of his head,
Right. And I'm sure the police won't pay any attention to the surrounding area of that big-time crime scene that they just discovered. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. On a random note that has nothing to do with this, I'll just say I think Liddy got kind of crappy at the end.
Yeah, he was a great character until his last scene, last episode.
Yeah. I mean, pretty one note, but like Jordan Chase, a cool one note, And I think Peter Weller did a great job.
Yeah, great job.
So I do appreciate that character. It's sort of unfortunate that he was kind of a complete waste in a way. Like, he didn't really do anything. It didn't really matter. And even Angel's like, am I the only one who cares about this? Like.
And then Liddy rolls over and goes, I care. Yeah, I think the way he got into the story was very contrived, and the way he got out of the story was very contrived. But those periods in between, he was a really good character.
Yeah, and I like the costumes. I like his general just demeanor, his way of being kind of, half threatening all the time. And, the idea that he's very driven, and he didn't necessarily have to say why until the last couple episodes. you just kind of accepted that he latched onto this for whatever personal reasons. My guess was just that it was just like you said, he was a cop. He was not, actually practicing police work at the time because of his, bust from Maria, but this was sort of like a case to latch onto. During a time when he couldn't do what he had been doing for like 30 years, as he says.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's sort of like, no, he's actually maneuvering. He's actually going to try to make this. He doesn't actually care about this case.
It's kind of like he found something juicy that he didn't expect to find, and so he went further along with it. Because, once he saw the pictures of him dumping something in the middle of the night, he was like, hot dog, I'm on to something here. This might be my ticket back to the force. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was more about his personal honor as a cop. Even though he was corrupt, I thought it'd been a nice dichotomy to show he had this personal honor as a detective to solve this crime, and that even if he does want his job back, that it's more about his like this sense of duty that he still has, even though he sort of became corrupt over time or something. But
yeah,
that's a little more finesse than they were willing to deal with.
Yeah.
They went with the very obvious, I want my job back.
Right. Yeah, I mean, going so far as to have him say, I don't care about you, I don't care about her, all I care about is getting my job back. Like, that's almost a direct quote.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's where it's like, okay, yes, the writers know how to be obvious. They know how to tell us things in a very simplistic fashion. Why couldn't we get lines like that from Quinn and Dexter? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be good writing, but at least I would know what happened. Like,
Dexter could have had some voiceover after Quinn talked to him, and he could have said, yeah, Quinn, I let you off the hook. He's thinking in his voiceover, yeah, Quinn, I left you off the hook, but that's because it's better for me and it's better for Deb.
Perfect. Boom. I'm fine with
Boom. Aren't you done? It's over. Like, that's all you need is a quick little line about what he's thinking and why, and it's over with.
Yeah. It's not that hard. And with a voiceover, it's even easier.
Totally, because you can get away with being direct with what you're saying, because this is his direct thoughts, so.
Yeah, but instead to choose the background if he's just kind of playing dumb with Quinn. And I'm left wondering, is there any way that wasn't Liddy's blood? Like, like that? No, it has to be. They showed it dropping on the shoe. Like, there's no way around that.
Yeah, I thought that drop was going to key Quinn into that something was up with Liddy, but no, it just ties into the crime scene. And and so what's weird is I wonder what Maria thinks and what Deb thinks was going on. Why now that he's cleared, now that Quinn is cleared with the Liddy case, why do they think he was being so coy about answering questions? Since he seemingly now has nothing to hide.
I agree. What's his story? I mean, there's still the issue that that Liddy was calling him. They were the last calls he made. Like, I mean, he's still, the equipment was still checked out under his name. I mean, maybe they realized that was forged, but they never said that. I mean, it wasn't clear what his explanation was.
I'm telling you, man, crappy writing. I think that's all like not tying up all the loose ends very well.
Yeah.
Because he's got all this evidence against him, and
not just the blood. Like, that wasn't the only
not
thing.
Just the blood. Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's the thing that everything else he can say. He can give whatever reason, but Liddy calling him before he gets killed, and Quinn deleting voicemails isn't proof that he killed him. So he is effectively off the hook. But I think it leaves up all these open questions. And you're right, it's the worst police force I've seen on TV.
I mean, I think he at least owes them an explanation for what was going on, like what his involvement with Liddy was.
Yeah.
Because, like, if that's the last call you make before you're found dead, I mean, even if they're not the one that killed you, it should at least be interesting what they had to say. And, like, he basically deletes those messages, but, like, isn't there going to be some record of that? Like, the fact that those messages were there at a certain point?
I don't know. I was thinking that maybe the police could call his phone company.
The cell phone company, yeah.
And I don't think they'll necessarily have copies of the voicemails, but they might be able to tell that voicemails were left.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean,
just a
they'll
record.
definitely be able to tell from the duration of the calls that he most likely left voice messages.
Yeah.
But what they said and all that stuff is,
lost forever.
Yeah, I think that's probably lost.
Yeah.
But anyway, overall, I thought season 5, like I said, C+, B-. It had its moments, and it's not completely horrible. Like I said, I was pretty much interested episode to episode. So
I agree. I look forward to it in general.
It's got to progress more. I think it's season 5. I think by next season, I think we need to see I posted this on Twitter. I'm like, Dexter needs to inherit a haunted mansion or move to a new city, or I think it's time to switch up the show, even if the cast changes or something. I think it's getting time to really do something different, because Dexter asking the same questions every season and almost getting caught every season is just getting boring.
I agree. I do think they need to shake things up. I'm okay with keeping the same cast. Particularly, I want Deborah to find out about Dexter, and I want Dexter to progress in some way. For example, trying to give up killing. He doesn't have to do that, but that's just an example of the kind of thing I'd like to see, a significant change for him.
I think he should have tried that at the beginning of the season. I think, to me, if I had my way with this season, I would have had Rita's death be the thing that keeps him from killing, because he realizes that's how he got her dead in the first place, with his dark passenger. And I wish at the beginning of the season he was actively trying to ignore his dark passenger and refuse it, and then Lumen comes into his life who needs him to use that skill, so he has to reluctantly get back into killing to help her, which in effect, which by the end of the season, when Aster says, "Did this help you?" helping Lumen, he can say yes. And it's I feel like they could have easily used the same pieces to make a better, better puzzle at the end, a better complete picture of what was going on. And it seemed like his reaction post Rita was very lackluster, and it should have been more dramatic, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a weak follow-up to such a strong ending last season. And I did like this ending, but it's obviously nowhere near what they did. And I remember how excited I was about this season. And I actually did like the beginning part pretty much. It really started to fall apart for me as soon as he started talking about Voight Fowler. That's when I was like, oh no.
That was the first dip in the season. I mean, the boy stuff was okay in general, but it was a detour, and I was just like, I don't really like this at all.
Yeah, that's when it was like, oh, back to routine already? Episode 2? What the fuck? I don't know. I just couldn't believe that they were doing that.
He never. God, I hope Rita is not in a place where she can see him. I hope wherever No Ordinary Family takes place, she could not see Dexter, because Julie Benz would be very upset about Dexter's lack of, reaction to her death. And again, I would never forgive the show for writing that, at Rita's funeral, Dexter kills the guy at the boathouse, kills the random innocent guy, goes home to change clothes, and doesn't put on a suit. I will just never forgive him for that.
Yeah.
Because, again, about Dexter being on top of his game, he needs to look the part.
Right.
He's got people thinking he's the killer, and he's not even dressing up for his wife's funeral. And it's like, okay, don't say he changed clothes if you're not going to put him in a suit, and he's the only one who shows up not wearing the right clothes at the funeral. So they won't. To me, that's a bridge too far.
I love how much that bothers you. I agree with your point. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't matter to me as much.
It's just
that's like so long ago, and you're still upset about it. It's great.
Because to me, it's such a blatant oversight. There's no excuse for it.
I mean, it is bad, but I don't know. I guess I've moved on to other things.
It's just a blatant oversight. To me, there's no excuse to say he changed clothes, but I mean, obviously they didn't want him in a suit, or somebody would have written he's in a suit. But
right,
it's just weird that they won't write that he's trying to look the part at least. When he missed an FBI meeting, who they want to interrogate him about what happened, and he shows up late,
right.
and he doesn't look like, it looks like he just changed clothes from killing someone.
Yeah.
So,
which he did.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I just like the guy killing the guy in the boathouse. Like that's more upsetting to me than the Susan thing. Like I guess like it just seems like a larger thing, but I mean, your point is perfectly valid. He should have been wearing a suit. It makes sense in every way.
Well, let's unless you have some other topics, we should wrap up the podcast.
I think I brought up everything. Let me make sure. Yes. Check. I think that's good. I agree. I'm going to also say, maybe I lean more on the B- side, but I pretty much agree that this season had significant problems. And I think for me, the season only worked in a local way. Like, individual scenes were good. Yeah. But I think the overall picture is kind of really sloppy, and the character stuff didn't really progress very well, and the plot was not particularly well thought out. It was just individual pieces. Some of the acting was good. Some of the individual things the characters did were good. But yeah, it's the big picture is just missing. So I'll be back for next season, no question. I'm definitely not done with this show yet. But
totally.
But I'm hoping that next season they can somehow bring it back home, make it like the even numbered seasons are good or something.
Yeah. All righty, everybody. Well, thanks for listening and tuning in to our Dexter podcast series. It's nice that we did a whole season and got that taken care of.
Yes.
So we'll be back with something at some point.
We will. We will talk again about some topic in the future.
Yes, and we will record it and put it online.
Stay tuned.
Until then.
See you later.
Wishes are for children.
And that.